Chapter 8. It hadn't been Mickey's day at all. The police finally arrived at Min's music mine about 2 hours after he'd called to report the robbery, by which time Mickey, whose powers of recuperation were the stuff of local legend, had sobered up sufficiently to realise the deep brown stuff he was getting himself into. There were just the two policemen. One was a pimply youth who spoke in a curious, unidentifiable accent. The other, a solid-looking body with a military moustache and a steely gaze. His name was Sergeant Ron Sturdy. Mickey recognised the pimply youth at once. He was a dedicated purchaser of plectrums. Sergeant Sturdy recognised Mickey Minns. "Surely I used to be your probation officer," he said. The scene of crime investigations didn't take too long. Sergeant Sturdy dispatched his junior associate to make inquiries next door at Mr. Patel's. "Just mention my name and take a statement." "You got it, Sarge." For the next 5 minutes, Sergeant Sturdy said nothing. He stood and twirled the ends of his pussy tickler, smiling occasionally at the fretting, sweating Minns. When the long 5 minutes were up, the lad returned, sucking a Snickers. "Patel sang like a Bronx canary," he informed his superior officer. "Read from your book, son." "Yes, sir." Constable Ken turned back the cover of his regulation police issue notebook and read from it. "Big fat fellow he was." Mickey pulled in his stomach, but he had a mask on, so I didn't see his face. Mickey let out his stomach. "Van was for transit, painting on sides of flowers and lump piece. Very rusty old van, no tax disc, by the way." "Anything else?" Ron asked. "Yes, sir." Constable Ken continued reading. "Van had Min's music mine printed in big letters on the back. He's Mr. Min's van. It was Mr. Min in a mask loading the van with guitars. Mr. Min's not paid paper bill for 6 months. Mr. Min's hired out Donkey Caper's porn video for a man, not return it. Mr. Min's very bad man. Mr. Min's—" "Thank you, Constable," said Sergeant Sturdy. "I think we get the picture." Mickey opened his mouth to protest his innocence, but he was banged to rights and he knew it. His best chance was a complete confession, accompanied by a plea of mitigating circumstances. The old cram repetitia, in fact. And so he began. He wasn't a well man, he told the police officers. He'd never been the same since he'd done that 3-month acid trip with Sid Barrett back in the 60s. The chemicals were still in his bloodstream, and only large libations of alcohol neutralised them and kept him on an even keel. And it was all his wife's idea anyway, and she wasn't a well woman. She beat him up a lot, not that she could help herself. She'd never been the same since she was bopped on the head by a police truncheon during a peaceful protest about the war in Vietnam. And business had been so bad lately, what with the recession. And there was the unpaid paper bill and the road tax for the van and the hole in the ozone layer and everything. Sergeant Sturdy offered a sympathetic ear to Mickey's tale of woe, but when he felt that his ear had been bent quite enough, he raised a hard and horny hand. "Put the cuffs away," he told Constable Ken, who now had Mickey up against the wall with his legs spread and was giving the shopkeeper an intimate body search. "And wait in the car." "Oh, but Sarge—" "Just do it." Constable Ken slouched from the shop, muttering in a mid-Atlantic manner. Sergeant Sturdy shook his head sadly. "This is a sorry state of affairs," said he. "Get up off the floor and stop crying, Minns," he continued. Mickey had not been dragged away to the station, but he had been given a very stern talking to. Crime, Sergeant Sturdy told him, was best left to the professionals, the Robert Maxwells and the Carlos the Jackals of this world, not to balding ex-musos with beer bellies and bad breath. Society would be better placed if folks simply stuck to what they did best. Every man and every woman is a star, the policeman explained, shining in the firmament of their own individuality. Know thyself, and to thyself be true. Mickey nodded thoughtfully, and wondered whether the sergeant had ever spent any time around at Sid's place in the 60s. The stern talking to concluded with the instruction that Minns should never again stray from the path of righteousness, and that, as a penance for his transgression, he should personally offer a month's free guitar tuition to Sergeant Ron's son Colin. "He needs a really decent guitar to thrash about on. He's a clumsy boy, but means well. Give him a go of your Les Paul Sunburst." Mickey's wife was on the phone, booking a suntan session and a bikini wax when her husband returned home with the bad news that all the guitars had to go back to the shop. She'd then beaten him up. Mickey had limped off in search of a beer. He found one at the Flying Swan and located and disposed of a good many more before Neville, the part-time barman, called for the towels up and brought his knobkerry into play. Mickey then limped next door to Archie Karachi's Star of Bombay Curry Garden for the traditional post-pub afterburner. It's an interesting fact that, just as the Queen believes that all the world outside Buckingham Palace smells of fresh paint and new carpet, so all Indian waiters believe that every Englishman is a foul-mouthed, drunken fascist. It's a weird and wonderful world we live in, and as Hugo Rune once wrote, "It has never ceased to fascinate me that no matter where I travel, nor in what far-flung reach of civilization I unroll my sleeping bag, no matter how educated or primitive the people, how rich or how poor, how spiritually enlightened or how entrenched in fundamentalist dogma, one thing remains forever the same, and that is the smell of the gentleman's toilet." When Mickey had finally worn out his welcome at Archie's, which was 3 pints of Cobra downed and still unable to decide upon a starter, he was politely ejected into the street, which left him with the very real problem of where to go next. Home for another thrashing? Mickey wasn't keen. Round to some friend's place for a big spliff and an all-night chinwag. Seemed sound, but for the fact that he had exhausted all such hospitality many years back. No, there was no choice involved. At 2 a.m, Jack Lane's Four Horsemen was the only place in town. Of all the pubs in Brentford, the Four Horsemen held the distinction of being the only one that did not recognise any licensing hours. As Jack Lane had now passed into his 100th year, the local constabulary turned a blind eye to the fact that he rarely opened his doors until all the other pubs had closed theirs. It was a tradition, or an old charwoman, or something, and it was the only place the officers of the force could grab a decent pint when they came off the late shift. 2 of them were doing so even as Mickey walked in, and one of these looked up to greet him. "Evening, Mickey," said reliable Ron Sturdy. "You're round, I think." It was precisely 3 minutes past 2 when Anna Gotting, Cornelius Murphy, and Tuppe entered the Four Horsemen. "Oh no!" Anna caught her breath. "It's Mickey!" And the 2 policemen. Cornelius stepped across the silent bar. Various patrons were paused in pubbers' positions, one making a throw at the darts board, another in the act of ordering a drink, more conversing about tables, a single fellow heading for the gents, which smelt no doubt identical to any other in the world. Old Jack held a glass beneath the whisky optic. Ron Sturdy had his mouth open and his right hand on Mickey's shoulder. All shared one thing in common, however, a certain quietude. All were utterly still. None appeared to be breathing. "We shouldn't hang around here too long," said Tuppe. There's a fathering of the new order to be got under way. This I consider to be a matter of high priority. Praise the Lord! Mine's a Jim Beam if you're in the chair, Cornelius." "And mine's a very large vodka," sighed Anna. "Poor Mickey. I really quite fancied him." "Now that is sad." Tuppe scaled a bar stool. Cornelius made his way behind the bar and took down a bottle of Tsar Nick, the emperor of vodkas, from the shelf. "I can't hold with any of this," he said as he rummaged for a glass. "There is no way the entire world can come to an end the moment we turn our backs for a few minutes. It just can't be." "Looks very much as though it is," said Tuppe, "but it just can't. I bet they're all still warm. Give him a feel." "I certainly will not." Tuppe shook his little head. "I've not ruled out the possibility of contagion. You touched the fellow in the car, didn't you?" "I touched the bloke at the bus stop." Anna began to wipe her hand nervously on her T-shirt. "That doesn't matter." Tuppe tipped her the wink. "As the mother of the new order, you will have a natural immunity. Shame about Cornelius. How's he look to you?" "I look fine, and I feel fine, thank you, Tuppe." Cornelius popped the cork from the vodka bottle and made an attempt to pour out a large measure, but with no success. "Something's wrong here," he said, shaking the bottle about and peering into its neck. "The drink won't pour. It's solid." "Ooh!" went Tuppe. "What Whoa, Cornelius made with the vigorous bottle shakings. New order. Tuppe folded his arms. No alcohol in the new order. God won't allow it. My case is proven, I so believe. Nonsense. It's just gone off. Or something. Or something? Try another then, oh doubting Thomas. I will. Cornelius took down a bottle of Lagavulin. It wouldn't pour. Nor would the Dalwhinnie, nor the Johnny Walker Black Label, nor even the Bell's Extra Special. Don't forget the Jim Beam, called Tuppe. Cornelius tried the Jim Beam. Pour it would not. Want to try your hand at the pumps? No. Cornelius hesitated. His eye had become drawn to a most extraordinary phenomenon, and it centred about the right hand of Mickey Minns. This hand hovered, immobile, a few inches above an ashtray on the bar counter. It was arrested in the very act of flicking ash from a cigarette, and it was this ash that caught the attention of the tall boy. The ash and the way it hung motionless in the air, halfway between cigarette and ash ball. Cornelius stared at it in awe, and as he did so, a great and terrible truth came to him, an ultimate truth as his daddy might have described it. "Oh, no," said Cornelius. "Oh, no. What's all this knowing?" Tuppe asked. "Are you auditioning for the part of Serpent in this new Eden, or what?" "No." The eyes of Cornelius Murphy took it all in, all of it. He pointed with a quivery finger. "Behold the dart," said he. Anna and Tuppe turned to behold. The dart hovered in the air, a mere 6 inches from the double top. "Cue!" whistled Tuppe. "That's clever. How's it do that?" "It doesn't. It just seems to." "Very erudite, Cornelius. It doesn't. It just seems to. Would you care to enlarge in that at all?" "It's us." Cornelius chewed upon his knuckle. "It's not them. There's nothing wrong with these people. It's us that's all wrong." "Still not following you, I'm afraid." "I am." Anna smoothed back her hair. "Think about Rune's car. 60 years old, but it smells brand new and it starts first time. It's the zones. Time must be different in there. We went in and we came out and now we're—" "What?" Tuppe shook his head to and fro. We're what?" "We're different. We're moving much too fast. The car is still new because 60 years in there equals about 1 minute out here. These people aren't really standing still, nor is the dart. We're moving so fast that we can't perceive their movement. We're in a different time frame. That's why the phones wouldn't work, the bottles wouldn't pour, why we can't feel any heartbeats." "This is deep," said Tuppe. "Very deep." "This is bad," said Cornelius. "Very, very bad." "Bad for me," said Tuppe mournfully, "but not so bad for you, I'm thinking." "Why do you say that?" "Oh, come on, Cornelius. This is perfect for you, surely. Use your life. If we're really moving thousands of times faster than anyone else on Earth, think what you can do. Before 1 second of real time has passed, you could open up every forbidden zone in London, pull out all the booty, liberate your real daddy, print out the truth on broadsheets and stick one to the letterbox of every influential bod for miles around, and all before anyone can blink an eyelid. You win. You solved it." "And if all that was so, how is it bad for you?" "I don't get to be the father of the new order anymore." "You never were," said Anna. "But you're right on this, isn't he, Cornelius?" "No." Cornelius held down his cap and shook his bandaged head. "Sadly not, because for one thing, we won't be able to get back into the zones." "Why not? You still have the reinvented ocarina, and we know that it works." "It works when you play it at normal speed, but at the speed we're moving? Forget it. We may be invisible to the naked eye, but we are also inaudible to any ear you like. It won't work. We're done for. Before that dart hits the dartboard, we will probably have died of old age." "Depressing thought, though, isn't it?" said a voice from the door. It was the voice of Arthur Corbould.